Well, hello, hello. It is Truth Bomb Tuesday, where the power of choice is yours and yours alone. And today I want to talk about what I mean to heal at the level of the nervous system, the subconscious mind, because this is like our super mental, incredible computer that unless we actually start to understand it, nothing really changes. And in my personal healing journey to turn unresolved trauma into trust, and working with thousands of very highly sensitive, empathic women and men over the past 17 years, what I've witnessed over and over again in so many spontaneous healings is that visioning alone is not enough. Releasing inner barriers is not enough. Doing mantras is not enough. Talk therapy is not enough. Somatic release on its own is not enough. And even using a lot of these manifesting techniques alone are not enough. Until you actually realize that your brain and your nervous system is wired to keep you safe. It's the only thing your brain is interested in is survival. And we have to create a place of safe embodiment before we can even start to unpack some of the places where your body is holding trauma in the fascia, in the tissues. And you have to work at that level of the nervous system from, as I said, a space of feeling safe in your body. A lot of times when there's shock and trauma systems, whether that's a car accident, whether that is sexual abuse or one of the big ACEs in childhood, whether that is running on your cellular blueprint, where your epigenetics, your gene expression is being influenced by inherited or ancestral trauma, nothing changes, right? Because we have to be in our bodies, in the soma, before we can take aligned action to follow our body's natural impulse to release trauma. And here's the thing, we're really killing the human body with the way that we're thinking about, and a lot of times trying to avoid pain, avoid looking at the places in our lives that make us feel uncomfortable and unsafe. So what is pain? For me, I've learned, even with depression or anxiety, all of that is a screen for your body to look at something in your life, in your body, being out of congruence, being out of alignment. There's something that's not easy anymore, right? Which is what disease is. It's the opposite of ease and flow and an ability to thrive, right? We're in survival mode. And Western science doesn't really have a definitive answer for this. In the DSM, there's a lot of what I call these very old, ancient shamanic practices that are actually telling us that we need to look at something, that we need to go into the body to explore. And they're not in the DSM. Like, PTSD is there, but chronic, toxic, unpredictable stressor isn't there. So what science does know, and it's definitive enough for me, in combination with everything else that I teach, that we have to have a functional, integrative approach to healing on all levels of the body: emotional, mental, spiritual, etheric, heart-based, all of it. And that is that pain is always our body alerting us to something putting us in danger, right? It's that lack of safety, and that's it. So as much as we want it to, pain doesn't fit neatly into a little box. And it's going to look different for every one of us, because every one of us has had a different upbringing, has had a different birthing experience. And also we're traumatized through relationships, right? We respond to our external environment, just as our own body is responding to its own internal climate. So that psychological or emotional pain, when it isn't held in a safe space to be able to really get curious about what's going on underneath it all, it's always going to manifest in physical pain, right? That's the gift of being able to sit with pain, to sit in the waiting room. So, you know, how do we know when it's purely physical or more psychological in origin? I don't think that we can separate that out either. You know, I have my own theories about that, but I'll save that for another day. But just know that every emotion creates a thought, which creates a felt sense in the body. And we're capable of experiencing how much we're able to sit with that in the physical sensations, or in that sort of pendulation or cascade of emotions that flood our nervous system, and that's why they're called feelings. Excuse me. So, you know, I always say this, and it maybe sounds a little cliche now because you hear me say it over and over again. You cannot heal if you're not willing to feel. So you don't think your emotions, you feel them viscerally in your body. It's a very somatic experience that has a lot to do with how healthy your vagal tone is, right? Both the ventral vagal, the dorsal vagal, the enteric proprioception of the body on the level of the nervous system. And I love what Brene Brown says, that we can't selectively numb emotions. When we're numbing painful emotions, we're also numbing positive emotions. And this isn't anything new. You know, I say this all the time too. You can't be happy all the time unless you've known what it feels like to be deeply unhappy. And we're pendulating between the contrasts all the time. So what happens to us physically when we're trying to resist feeling, and we're numbing out, and we're using various coping mechanisms, depending on our attachment style, in the isms that we use, when we're trying to suppress or avoid emotions that we've deemed or have been programmed into us as being wrong, knowing that there's no right or wrong, right? All emotions, when they're in their healthy expression, are designed to keep us aligned to our soul purpose and in our heart space. So if we don't, on an emotional level, when we're numbing, when we're going into shame, fear, doubt, blame, hate, jealousy, anger, rage, envy, what we call distractor implants, it's a good name for them, isn't it? Because they're designed to distract us from what our heart knows, from what our gut knows intuitively. And if we're trying to numb one thing, then we're numbing everything. And this is why so many of my clients come to me and they say, I just feel dead inside. You know, I have no reason and justification to feel like I'm feeling. I have, you know, I have a great job, or I have a great relationship, and I don't have any money worries, and yet I still feel like something's off, something's missing from my life. And they're numbed down because they're trying to avoid any kind of physical discomfort. So maybe that's why so many people are suffering today. And I think a lot of that has to do with our dissociation. So our wanting to avoid pain in our body creates this disharmony or the separation from being able to have empathy for the pain that we're seeing going on in the world. And this is this epidemic of loneliness, or what I call separation sickness, that we need to really look at if we're going to create a sustainable planet, or even see the survival of us as a species. So just remember that pain is the feedback from your body that's reminding you that you are alive. You know, it's really waking us up to our own humanity and also to our own mortality. So instead of reacting with gratitude or getting curious or having those internal conversations with our afraid child parts when physical pain shows up, most of the time, because we're also entrained into a problem-solving relationship as a human being. We're rewarded for problem solving. We're rewarded for fixing things. And we want to kill the messenger when it shows up as pain in our bodies, because we don't know how to sit with that. So we're literally killing our dreams. We're killing our body's ability to want to survive and to thrive in the ways that we're thinking about and addressing what pain is as a pathway to our purpose, as a vehicle that we are having this physical experience with, as a spiritual being and in a body. And if you just look at healing, it means to be made whole. So instead of taking pills that numb sensations and emotions, or using food to create some sense of safety, or to stay in your body, or numbing out with workaholism, or any kind of addiction, right? The addiction to please, the addiction to give up your desires in order to be a people pleaser is a big one for a lot of empaths. So anywhere where we're anesthetizing or literally killing our living tissue with unnecessary surgeries that sort of cut the site of pain out. So many of my clients come to me and they've had their gallbladders removed. And I'm always really curious about that, because even though you don't have a physical gallbladder anymore, you still have the consciousness highways, right? The intercommunication on your gallbladder meridian that are looking at where are you stuck, right? The gallbladder acts as a hinge. And this is when we're in two minds, when we're fence-sitting, when we're procrastinating, because we're wanting to avoid getting uncomfortable. And yet we know deep down that the only way to gain momentum, right, to get the flexibility, to get the forward movement, we need to sit in our pain and get really curious about what our body is asking us to pay attention to. And a lot of times, people are trying to do this from a mental level. They're trying to think their way out of pain, and it's impossible. We have to be in our bodies to do it. And I think that there's a lot of very well-meaning teachers out there that are showing you how to heal yourself with your mind. And yes, the body follows the mind. So you need to employ your mind to work for you. You can't just, be like this force over your body. You can't let your body not have the visceral experience. I always sort of use that metaphor of that our body is this magnificent horse, right, with this huge heart brain, and this very sensitive gut in the sort of predator and prey aspect, being a prey animal. It's why, and horses are wired. They're flight animals. They're wired to be very in tune with their environment. And we're trying to do it from being the rider, right, that's trying to control this powerful body, this powerful horse, from coping mechanisms and ways of controlling that eventually our bodies just say no. So you got to remember that your pain is the perception of everything. So if you want, say for example, you choose that route, you're telling your body that its messages are not wanted, that they're not valid, and you're trying to override your body with the rider, with the head. This is where we abandon ourselves. This is where we actually create our own separation from our own bodies. This is the epidemic of loneliness, and where inflammation is the driver of all pain, because you're saying, oh no, I don't want to listen to you, you don't know anything. And so you cut off receiving your gut knowing, your intuitive process, your instincts, and your body's feedback that's actually designed to help you to make better aligned actions in your life. So, what if your body is trying to warn you of legitimate danger and you're overriding it? This is what often happens in a sort of very disorganized attachment style person, is you end up taking very, very dangerous risks, because you've overridden your body's natural impulse to keep you safe for so long that you can't tell the difference between people that you can trust, for example, and people that shouldn't be trusted. So, can we really selectively choose which physical sensations we want to feel? I don't really think so, at least not without consequences, personally, and also to the people we care about, and certainly to the collective field of all humanity. And I'm not saying that we should ignore the brain or the mind. I'm saying employ your brain to work for you by knowing how your nervous system is wired to survive, not to thrive. You can't create if you're in a place of safety, if you're not feeling safe in your body. So, my desire, and why I'm on such a mission to help people to take an integrative functional approach by understanding how they're wired first, is to also allow every one of us to make our own choices, to find our place in the world, and know that what we're creating and who we're being in service to each other is valuable, right? That it is required, right? That we need to share our gifts in the world. So your mind in service of your body in service of you, your spirit in your life, your brain in service of your mind and your body, and you in service to the world. That's what we want. We all want the same thing. We want safety, connection, and belonging. We want to make a difference in the world. We want to leave the world a better place than we found it. And we want to believe that our lives matter. And I think pain is only as simple or as complex as you are. So if we start to see pain as a path of resistance, that we need to avoid anything that's uncomfortable or is going to take us out of our current bubble of perceived safety, nothing is going to change. So it's not the sensations and the emotions actually that are inherently painful. It's our resistance to them that is. The death of the story to the brain or the nervous system feels like we're going to kill our bodies, and it's going to fight us tooth, nail, and sinker to keep things in a state of inertia, of status quo. So unaddressed nervous system patterns are the number one reason most people don't get lasting results from healing modalities. They don't get lasting results in changing their current financial situation. And for the brain, pain feels like death. So your nervous system would rather you stay in a toxic, narcissistic, codependent relationship than actually be on your own. Your nervous system would rather you stay in a job that's sucking the life out of you than for you to go out there and start to use your gifts and capacities and skills to be a self-motivated authority of what you're brilliant at in solving patterns of disharmony for other people. So we have to know that, and remember that the nervous system, the brain, every single system in the body has no concept of time, right? Time is a construct. So we create disease because when we're not able to safely make sense of what just happened to us in a traumatic experience, our body and the body part, right, gets frozen in time at the age that you were when that trauma occurred. And then as we go through life, the brain is collecting data and evidence to support that primary, that first traumatic event, right? That primary neuronet that's holding you back from wanting what you want. And it creates all these new patterns and pathways that build on that neuronet. I hope that makes sense. So it's very hard to change those patterns, right? Protective or defensive patterns, they're not limiting patterns or limiting beliefs. They were set up at the time that got trapped in your body, when the trauma got frozen in time in your body. So every time you're triggered by an outside experience that is remotely familiar to that primary event, puts your nervous system on high alert. It puts you in survival mode. So, I really believe that your mind operates on a very subconscious level. It's autonomic. It's so unconscious that if we can't even locate the conscious mind, then it continues to remain something outside of you that you have no control over. Read Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Says No. It'll give you a really clear, concise précis, really, of what I'm talking about here. And I think it's one of the best resources that you can give yourself when you're just starting out on your healing journey. Because if you can start to think of your nervous system kind of like the gatekeeper, the heart is the gatekeeper. Actually, the pericardium is the gatekeeper in Chinese medicine, but it's sending more information from the gut brain and the heart brain up to this brain than it is from this brain downwards. So when you start to work on the level of your nervous system, and you start to literally thaw out these parts of frozen fascia, blocked meridian pathways, the issues in your tissues, when you start to be able to speak to the story as if you would a frightened child, then you start to understand why you're spinning your wheels. When you can know, okay, wow, how brilliant was my body to set this thing up. When I discovered that, when I was misdiagnosed with chronic stage, what do they call it, type 2 bipolar, when they actually realized that it was the pressure from these two massive brain tumors that were pushing on the back of my brainstem that was causing me to go into these chronic mood swings where, I was playing with suicidal ideation one moment, and the next minute I was so high, I was like conquering the world, and, I wasn't sleeping. So my gut health went down the tubes, and everything just went pear-shaped. But when I understood, wow, how brilliant was my body to set itself up to block me from the thinking mind, because I had a total monkey mind and it was brain, total mind tripper. How brilliant was it to create these brain tumors at the back of my head to keep me in my body? Oopsie, somebody's calling me right now. And then I could start to look at it as how could I change my mind, literally, right? By working at that level of why my body didn't feel safe, and latest MRI to actually recognize, sorry, this is distracting me. That's what you call a pattern interrupt. So, then I could actually find ways to create safety inside of my physical body to be able to then start working at that level of the nervous system to shrink those tumors. So, there's a little bit of scar tissue. It's about the size of like a 10-cent piece, but the other one is completely gone. And I don't slur anymore. I don't have those massive pendulations. Of course, I would be lying if I didn't say I still feel anxiety. And I still get depressed, but now I can understand that it's my body telling me that something needs my attention. A lot of time depression is just, I need to take a moment to go into deep rest, to regenerate my body, to give my body time to repair and regenerate when I've been using a lot of brain power to create things in the world. So I hope this has been helpful today. I just want you to know that when you can see your human body as one of the most beautifully designed, infinitely wise, and stunning capable things that exist in our world, it's just like we can create a symphony when we take back our power to be the conductor of our orchestra, right? To make sure that all the notes are playing in harmony, and allow our spirit, right, our soul, our heart speak to shine through the body. We have extraordinary healing powers, and this is why I say you can be your own medicine, but you need to be, first of all, acknowledge that you have that capacity to heal, and secondly, that you take aligned action and consistently do the training. Because when we look at pain from that space, right, as a pathway toward our purpose-driven life, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, any kind of pain that we're perceiving is feedback from our body to take some kind of courageous act of faith, right? Faith in action. Healing takes faith, and it has to happen on all levels of our body in order to do that. So we need to create safety, right? To get out of the survival mode first, so that then we can take calculated risks, and then we get to be optimistic again, right? We can see there is no such thing as failure. There is only this beautiful experiment called being human, that we get to design our own playing field on. And we really get to know ourselves, and we get to know each other in right relationship, right? In right relationship to our bodies, in right relationship to the food that we're eating, and in the conversations that we're having, and in our beautiful concerns to the dire state of the earth right now. So then nothing comes from irrational fear. Nothing is terrifying you into a space of inertia anymore to feel the discomfort. So just know that pain means that we get feedback from our body all the time to claim our power, to free ourselves from the eternal jailer, from the prison of the limitations that we've set up in our minds and in our bodies and in our spiritual practice. Don't be pain averse. Embrace the pain and be willing to sit with it in the waiting room for as long as it takes. I know it's our first instinct, right? When something really uncomfortable comes up, to squash it or avoid it, or just think about all the pain you see on Facebook, how easy it is to just sort of quickly move over it and bring your beating heart that is resonant with that pain into a more pleasurable place. Our nervous systems are wired to avoid pain and to move toward pleasure, but the way through it is to be able to sit with the pain. So, I think the less resistance that we have to pain, and when we can stop being so pain averse, the less of it we have. And that comes through consistent training. So when we learn to let pain be the transformer for us, then we grow and we evolve and we have these spontaneous healings and we create a beautiful life. And we inspire others to do the same, because we become limitless, right? We become free. We become the master co-creators of our own reality. So if this is resonating with you, if this is supporting you, or somebody that it may support, please like it, share it. And also thank you for all of you that jumped on that special offer for the epigenetic healing session with me for only $111. All the spaces have gone, but I have opened up another 5 spaces. And when they're gone for June. But I'm also working on something that's going to be hopefully coming to you quite soon, on how you can start to be that own authority in your own life, to be your own medicine. So if you'd like one of those, if you're kind of feeling like something's a little bit off, and you're ready to understand your attachment style and make a commitment to really see where your nervous system is dysregulated and where you haven't been able to be safely embodied, then I'll post the link below this. And I hope you take advantage of that. So just remember always, the power of choice is yours and yours alone. And it starts with you saying, giving yourself permission to get curious, to sit in the pain, and see it as this beautiful opportunity to heal from any of your unresolved trauma patterns or attachments of coping that's keeping you in a state of discomfort. And if you would like some support, that's the best way that you can get me, my eyes on your life, your business, and I'd love to go there with you. So that's it. Have a beautiful rest of the day wherever you are. And if nobody told you today, I see you, I love you, and I honor your journey. You are braver than you're even giving yourself permission to receive. You are far more resilient than you know. And the good news is that through neuroplasty, your brain, your nervous system can lay down new neural pathways to take you out of survival and into a life of thrival, into a beautiful life. And I would love to meet you there. All right, take care. Bye.